Well, hello again. This is Seth Turner for JPT TV, and we are here with Peter Zmiyarch, Saugertesian. And Pete, I guess I want to start with a discussion on the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. Can you speak to us about what that group is and what their mission has been?
Thanks, Seth. It's nice to be here. It's an honor and privilege to speak with you today. The Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, or the OPCW, as it's known, is an international treaty organization, and it's ridding the world of chemical weapons. And I know that you've been instrumental in the Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. Can you speak to what your job is specifically? My role is as the assistant head of security operations.
And so with that, is that you're ensuring that the professionals who have to go in there into these hot zones or these very combative situations are protected?
Recently, we've been operating in Iraq, Libya, Syria, and my role in that was to organize hostile environment training, etc. Day-to-day duties include management of the organization, the daily operations. We have numerous VIP visits. Heads of state visits, and just the business of the organization.
And the chemical weapons that we're discussing, these are being used by, hostile enemies against each other, and could you speak to what it is? And,
actually, I'm not sure of the exact percentage, but it's almost all the stockpile of chemical weapons in the world has been destroyed. There's a number of states, there's a few states that haven't signed the treaty yet that need to come on board, and the ones that have signed the treaty, they declare a list, and then we verify that list, and then the inspectors go out there and we begin the destruction process.
Pete, is it fair to say that this organization, the OPCW, has saved the lives of hundreds of thousands of people?
I would say it's contributed to a safer world, definitely.
And when the process of eliminating these chemical weapons, how does that transpire?
They have to be destroyed, normally by incineration. Destruction facilities have to be set up. That's done by the inspectorate, and we have different divisions. At the moment, we're about 420 staff. I work in the Office of Confidentiality and Security, and you mentioned the Nobel Prize, and we got that, but that belongs to everybody who's worked for the organization over 17 years. We've been in since 1997, and everybody that has played a role in the organization, that belongs to them.
Now, when your organization received word that you, in fact, were going to win the Nobel Peace Prize in 2013, where were you individually, and how did the message get to you?
I got a message from a friend of mine, but they didn't formally announce it. But a Norwegian friend had contacted me, and the Norwegians, they give it to their news service about an hour before they give it to the rest of the world. When they were actually trying to call it was quite a busy day, I think, and they couldn't reach anybody in the executive management to tell them that we won. So it was quite funny. Everybody was busy. So, and we were busy. We were busy with a number of. You
were in Syria, I believe.
No,
at that time.
We were in The Hague, and we were working on the Syrian operation. Many people were busy with that. So it came.
And what was the feeling?
Oh, it was very, really joyous. I mean, it's a real honor, privilege to win such an award, such recognition for the work you're doing. And yeah, I think the organization, politically, and we needed it. We needed that at that moment in time. We needed the resources that followed it. Many countries came forward after with huge millions of dollars worth of donations to help us, support us in the role we were doing in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq.
Now, Pete, one of the terms that I've heard you use to self-describe the role of both yourself individually and of this organization is that of being international civil servants. Is that an accurate reflection?
It is. I'm basically I'm not a diplomat, but I'm an international civil servant. Before this, I worked for the United Nations, predominantly for the Yugoslavian War Crimes Tribunal. And before that, I was in the Marine Corps.
And let's then take a step back, because we are sitting here today in your hometown of Saugerties, New York. And what led, what contributed to you becoming, the individual who you are today? How did this hometown, the people who are in it, could you speak to,
sure.
Coming up?
I'm really honored to call Saugerties my hometown. It's a great community. It's like one big family. There's a lot of contributing factors that equipped me with the skills to be successful in life. And this school district, we're sitting here in the Saugerties High School Library. This Saugerties School District is an anchor in definitely people like yourself doing a great job carrying a number of people when I was going to school that took interest in me and my success. I would say another one is the sports programs and just the large amount of community events, the communities around the veterans, lots of organizations. Town is just big enough, it's just the right size to be an extended family and a really strong community, and that's a great basis if you're going out into the world for success.
And you and I are sitting here today on November 11th, 2014. It is Veterans Day. And yesterday you were able to attend one of our elementary schools in which there was a recognition going on for veterans. Can you tell us what does that mean, not for you individually, but for veterans in general? Because I think the message I continue to hear is that there are so many heroes that walk among us every day, and there's so many heroes who never returned back home. But what does it mean when you see young children, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 years old, paying attention?
Well, when I joined the Navy in 17, a lot of us at that age in World War II had never been more.
It's important that we honor and remember our veterans. I said yesterday Veterans Day was originally Armistice Day, and the person who values peace the most is the veteran. I think I also mentioned about the heroes being the ones that don't come back. And I recently watched a video where Roger Donlin had mentioned the visible and invisible wounds. And we have Saugerties makes great, admirable young men and women to go out into the armed forces, and we produce some real good citizens. The military makes good citizens. And Saugerties already gives people great, potential. And so when they go into the military, they're often very successful. And we have a lot of heroes in our town. Yesterday was also the Marine Corps birthday, 239th Marine Corps birthday. And I was able to share a drink with some younger Marines across the generations and hear their story. And we can't forget, veterans aren't always World War II vets. They're becoming less and less. And there's people from Korea, Vietnam. And, America's been in a war for the last decade, and we have a lot of young veterans in our town, and it's important that we welcome them back and we help them assimilate back into the community.
What can someone like myself or other people do to make sure that we are welcoming them the right way, and that we're treating them with the respect that they're due?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about exactly what people can do, any specifics. It's just nice that they feel included and welcomed home, and they get the help and the assistance they need if they need that. And
Yeah, but you say that, but you were able to identify something the rest of us weren't, where you saw someone kind of across a crowded room that you identified as needed a little bit of a, a little nudge to come along and to be part of something. You were able to see something that the rest of us weren't. What equipped you to be able to do that?
I think veterans are, we know each other. I think Marines in general, or veterans. I spent a lot of time yesterday talking to Joe Sinnott and about all the people that Saugerties has lost over the years. Even there was mentioned that maybe Saugerties is one of the few towns that unfortunately can claim we've lost somebody in every battle since the Revolutionary War. Saugerties remembers veterans, and I think there's a strong veteran community here, and we stick together. We look out for each other, and we just know when somebody needs just touch base, communicate. You've brought up two other Saugertesians so far that in my opinion are among the greatest Americans, and the fact that they're from Saugerties is dumbfounding. But you talked about Colonel Roger Donlin, who of course is a recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor, and if any person does just a little bit of research on Colonel Roger Donlin, you quickly find out what an incredible soldier he was. But then when you get to know him personally, you find out this is just a genuine, great man, and he represents our community so well out there. Absolutely. Colonel Donlin, I grew up playing basketball in the Donlin Auditorium, and I read his citation hundreds of times. He's a real hero. And he'll tell you as well, there's lots of heroes that haven't come back. And
I think when I also saw that video that you recently reviewed, he spoke about one of the hardships that they were handling when he was in Vietnam was they were being the infiltration of what we now refer to as sleeper cells, and how their mission at that time in 1964 was to train some of the other Vietnamese to fight against the Viet Cong, and yet when the battle started, he had hundreds of turncoats right amongst his own ranks, and it seems like it's a modern conversation when we talk about infiltrators and sleeper cells, and yet here we were 50 years ago. And why didn't we learn through some of these experiences? Well,
that's a tough question, Seth. I'm not sure I'll be able to answer that, but I do know the one lesson we learn from history is that we don't learn from history, and they fought a tough war, as well as the guys in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's tough.
And now Joe Sinnott is another name that you brought up, and Joe is just a great guy, and I've gotten to know him over the years just in his skill as an artist. And it's one of those occasions in which I never really appreciated how well regarded Joe is among a certain population in our world, because I know Joe is the guy down the street who comes and visits our schools, and he draws these incredible pictures of all the superheroes and things, and then I'll go to maybe speak to people who attend Comic-Con and things like that, and when you tell them that you know Joe Sinnott, it's jaw-dropping for some of these people. I just know him as the nice guy who lives down the street, who comes and talks to our kids. But you and Joe go back many years. Can you kind of share with me? You shared with me a story about how he hired you as a young man.
I helped Joe with a small chore when I was younger. Joe is an ambassador for Saugerties. He's a very humble man. He's a sage. The highlight of my day yesterday was sitting and talking with him and catching up. He's a real gem. And he is world famous, but he's always called Saugerties his home. And
and were you like me? Did you read all of those comics that he had been a contributor to?
I sure did. I think everybody did. I remember him coming in and drawing for our school when we were kids as well. he was friends with my dad and my uncles, and so I've known him a long time, since I was a young boy, and it was great seeing him yesterday.
What was the project specifically that he hired you for? Because I think this is worthwhile.
I just helped with a small chore, and you know, there's a lot of people in Saugerties that are that deserve credit for being a veteran or for what they're doing in the community. Joe DeFino with his project here today. You know, I arrived back on Friday, first Friday of the month, and it was nice to see the town had a vibrant economy, and I mentioned that to Bill Murphy, the mayor. And you know, you see people all the time. Joel Hutton has returned from a successful career, retired from the Navy, and come back, and found out him and his colleagues what a fabulous job they did with Siemens Park for the Mum Festival. You know, and I mention this, and because of modern technology, I'm able to follow what's happening in the town from over in the Netherlands, and you know, it's really nice to see that people care about the community, and there are a lot of people, you know, everyone, and that's what makes this town a great town.
Now, one thing that keeps coming through to me from you is that you really are modest. You almost don't feel comfortable with these lights and with this camera. Absolutely. And with any conversation, and yet, you know, do you ever take time to kind of sit back and smell the roses and to acknowledge and about some, you know, how you got to where you are and what some of these things are?
I am a very humble and modest person, and I'm doing this because somebody asked me to do it as a sort of, it was my duty to come back and tell my story a little bit and try to inspire the youth, and I would say that, you know, you don't plan life, it just kind of happens, and the foundation is what gives you those opportunities, and Saugerties gives you a great foundation. I sit back at certain times in the year, maybe one day with, you know, mostly with my Marine brethren, and I speak to them. You know, I think that was probably where it's good to reflect, good place to reflect. Yeah.
So, you've started from Saugerties. You're now living in Europe. How did it all happen?
Well, I joined the Marine Corps. My uncle Paul Zmiyarch was a corporal. He was in Carlson's Raiders with the, which is the first Special Forces group in the U.S. military. If you remember the Raiders from World War II, tough outfit, and I think that
did they do the Battle of Bloody Ridge?
They did. That was Edson's Raiders, but that was the 1st Battalion, but it was Raiders, but there's a number of, when I was young, I listened, talked to him. He impressed upon me a few things that helped me in the Marine Corps. Never let the Marines down, never let the Marines that go before you down. And so I was successful in the Marine Corps, and then I got out, went back to school, used my GI Bill. Great opportunity. GI Bill, I was talking to Joe Sinnott yesterday about the GI Bill and how it created numerous opportunities for people after.
Is it possible for this dichotomy to exist in which you were trained to be a Marine, of course, in which you become a trained fighter? That's the job and the responsibility of a Marine, is to be the best of the best when it comes to warfare. And now to, you know, go forward, you know, from that point and go to the opposite end of the spectrum in which your focus is on peace. How does this dichotomy exist?
Well, I said it yesterday. Veterans value peace the most, and the skills I learned in the military, operations planning, organizing, just knowledge, survival skills, surviving in hostile environments, operation, equipment, communications, all that kind of stuff. I applied that later to working with the Yugoslavian War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague for 12 years. As an operations officer, and then as the assistant chief of the security service. We had 6 field offices in 5 countries, and the headquarters, and operations were worldwide. And the skills I learned in the military was what enabled me to be successful in those roles. I then started, I got married and had some children, and I needed to focus a little more on the family, and I moved over to working for the OPCW and apply those skills over there. So.
But I guess one common denominator I see is that your goal, regardless of whether it was military or with the OPCW, is perhaps for your children and for your wife and for my family, is to make the world a safer place. Would that be an accurate assessment?
Well, I think anybody that's a parent would like to be part of their legacy is to give the children a better world than what they have. I think that's laws of nature. So better opportunities, better chances in life, a better world.
Now, you'd made a suggestion of, that the purpose of this was, to be able to articulate some of your story. But I think what I want to be able to do is to use an exemplar for other individuals around our age, because it is time to start opening up and sharing stories and speaking to children for fear that we won't continue to repeat some of our same histories. I know that, when we were growing up, we would have Veterans Day assemblies, but a lot of World War II vets, and certainly the Vietnam War vets, did not want to discuss the images that they had seen. And it took until very late in their lives sometimes to begin to open up. I guess I want to say my purpose, whether it's to discuss the Marine Corps, but more importantly, I think for me, the OPCW, is to begin to demonstrate for others our age and in our generation that we inherited a free country, and America is one of the premier countries in the world. But we have an obligation to ensure that the next generation will step up to the plate and be responsible for protecting freedoms for all individuals in the world. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have no doubt that, there will be Saugertesians that will be playing a role in the future, whether it be, working in the State Department or working for, in other roles and capacities. I mean, we've always, we have always had a large number of our sons and daughters from Saugerties go into the military, and we're admirable young young men and women we produce here in this town all the time that are courageous to go out there and make their contribution. I'd like to go back to what you said about the veterans having a hard time. We do have a hard time speaking about what we did, or there's, I think we're humble people, and most veterans are very modest. And once you meet them and speak with them, you'll see they have a story to tell, and it's an honor that they share their story. I've met a couple just in the last couple of days since being home, and from a younger generation, and wow, what great stories, and it was an honor to be amongst them. I think that Saugerties is a great community.
Well, you know that I work within the school system, and we work hard to try to do the best we can for children. But you probably wouldn't know, but there's been a great deal of controversy over the best educational practices. It's gone on for the last, over 15 years. I don't know. We're always getting told that there's a newer, greater, and better way to teach. Whether it's math or science, social studies, you name it. It's a revolving door, and yet I sometimes am resistant to change for change's sake. And I guess what I want to do is bring this around and say, okay, for someone like yourself, now you've got a chance to come back and see some important things within our school over the last couple of days, but what were the takeaways from your education, be it in Saugerties or otherwise, that made a difference when you've gone on to do these things in your life, up to and including, working for the OPCW and that organization having been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize? Because, there is no greater reward that could be given to an organization and to an individual. So what happened in your formal education that you would say contributed? Was it sitting in the class, or was it being in a phys ed class, or?
Well, you know, I've never really thought about it, but I would say that the learning process, I'm not an expert, can't speak on that, but it's good. I remember reading books in high school that later, when I was amongst other people, they had never touched. I think the level of education in Saugerties is of a good caliber, good quality, and always has been. And that helps. That gives that basis to go, and the ability to then learn and be inquisitive. And if you don't know something, you know how to learn it to be successful in what you're doing. You know, if you don't know about some topic or some subject. But I think the basis is that, you know, the personal touch that teachers in the school system have. They take interest. You know, I can name a number of teachers that helped me along the way, guide me. Sue Graffiti, Tor Gunmanson, both now retired. I like to do art. That's why Joe Sinnott was a hero of mine. So in high school and thing, I had a creative process, but yet I still did all my other subjects.
Then let's step out of the formal education. What in your you know, in your maturing process, what other types of activities absolutely benefited you? I mean, you and I were talking yesterday about how you used to hike up into the mountains and, you know, just take your Dinty Moore stew and be gone for a couple of days. It's
a nice, it's beautiful area, the nature. It's this area that I grew up in is just fabulous, with the rivers, the quarries, the swimming holes. You know, what a great childhood we have. You know, people come up here to vacation. There's a reason for that. You know, people visit here to vacation. The foliage in the autumn. It's a beautiful area, and I'm very fortunate I grew up here. You know, there's a lot of things that I did as a youth that helped me later in life. So yeah, no, you know, the sports facilities. I mean, many a day playing basketball on the Cantine field, or baseball, or, you know, it's a wonderful area to grow up in, and it's nice to see that all those things are still here, and sometimes even more.
Now, Pete, what are the topics that I should be asking you about to make sure that we've done a comprehensive job? What are some things that, you know, or do you have any sorts of final messages that you want to deliver? You know, because I don't know that I'll get this opportunity again, and I want you to know I genuinely appreciate that you took the time out of your very important schedule to sit down and to share your stories today. But what are the topics that I haven't hit upon that I should?
Not much. I think it's, you know, it's an honor to speak to you today. And
no, the honor's mine.
I would say that stay a strong community. That's the basis of our strength, our cultural base. And you know, don't worry about life or have a plan about it. I mean, I remember there was a lot of anxiety people would have about what they were going to do with their future, where they would go to school, what they would study, what they would be. It's important that the basics, the foundation is there. You know, and Saugerties gives that foundation, and the skills. People will find their way.
One of the things I hear so often in recent years is that so many people leave New York, and this is a concern for all the politicians. But I've got to tell you, from being in Saugerties, I watch people leave, but invariably I watch every single one of them come back. Maybe it's for a day or for a weekend or for a vacation, but every single one of them come back. And so it's almost as though you can take the boy out of Saugerties, but you can't take the Saugerties out of the boy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I live in the Netherlands now, and growing up here, I miss always being able to look off and see the mountains in the distance. The you know, the Netherlands is very flat. Wonderful country to live in. It's, you know, I've been very fortunate to be able to live and work over there. There's a lot of Dutch history in the area that I understand even more now, having learned about the Netherlands as well. Yeah, I think everybody would come back at one time. I think, you know, maybe they leave, but their heart remains in Saugerties. It's a great community. It's a great place. It's you know, everyone's proud to call Saugerties, New York, their hometown.
Well, and Pete, you're one of the people who helped to make this place a great hometown. So I want to say thank you very much for being here. Yeah. And I want to say thank you to all the students, all the staff, and all the people here in Saugerties Central School District. It's been great to be here with Pete Zmiyarch today.